And welcome to Blue Silver Cafe Presents, where we have the privilege of interviewing some of the most interesting movers and shakers in business and entertainment. I'm your host, Randall Phillips, music curator, designer, internet radio host, and DJ for Blue Silver Cafe, a virtual platform that provides our guests with an entertainment and relaxation space to enjoy the art of real music. Our guest today is an incredible singer who has performed with some of the greatest jazz musicians in Chicago, like Vaughn Freeman and Milwaukee born artist Willie Pickens. Solitaire has been in the music industry for over 20 years. She has recorded many of her own solo albums as well as numerous albums under the name Susie Blue and the Lonesome Fellas. Let's welcome to the Blue Silver Cafe stage the incredible Solitaire Miles. How are you?
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good. So, Solitaire, we've known each other just a short time, but it feels like it's longer than it's been because I've learned so much because you have a lot to share. Now, we can't share all of it, but we're going to just give the audience a taste of what Solitaire Miles is about. And we've actually known each other just since August of this year, but I've had an opportunity to do my research and learn a lot from my chats that we've had. I'm proud to say that I bought and played your song. I don't know if I told you this or not. Too Close for Comfort. I From the album Born to Be Blue Sessions, and I played that on our October 2nd show. The first time that I heard that song was in the 90s on an album called Jazz Like You Never Heard It Before. It wasn't your version, it was a rendition done by Mel Torme with a slightly slower tempo than your version. Solitaire, out of all the jazz songs that you could have picked, because I really like that song, like what made you put that song on your 2019 album?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Mel Torme. A friend of mine who was a jazz journalist when we were in college met Mel Torme, and he was a big idol of ours. And he's quite a character, and he came from Chicago. And back when I was in college, I was tending bar in Lakeview at a place called the L&L Tavern, which is like voted the best dive bar in Chicago, I think. Anyway, uh, Anthony Bourdain used to hang out there. A lot of people did.
Oh, wow.
And there was a lady, an elderly woman at the time, who would come in at the bar, and her name was Mary, and she was so full of it. She was a stripper back in the 1940s. She was an exotic dancer in Chicago, and she knew all the gangsters from the 30s and the 40s, and she knew Mel Torme because, of course, he ran with kind of a wild crowd back then. And she used to joke about how Mel Torme would like go backstage at the strip club and try to get freebies because he was Mel Torme, right? And they were like, no, Mel, even you have to pay. And she said he was real egotistical and a total jerk. But he was a great singer. And sometimes, it's better to just listen to the records than know too much about them, right?
So the that's quite a story. So
Yeah,
you actually, I didn't know. Did Mel Torme, was he the one that was that his song or was he covering it?
I believe he covered it.
Okay, yeah,
I
that's what I
I
thought.
can't offhand remember who wrote it, but
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that version that I heard, I was like, I think that was the first time I became familiar with Mel Torme. That album, Jazz Like You Never Heard It Before, was a lot of jazz standards and things that were popular remastered. Because back in the '90s, that's when they were just starting to do CDs, and so they were taking all that old stuff and making it where people could rediscover it. And I did. It was a whole lot of good stuff on that album. So
yeah.
here's another question for you. When we've had the chance to chat, I get the sense that you've always had a lot of thoughts and ideas swirling around in your head. Because when we talk, you have like, you'll go here and then something to come to your mind, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, that reminds me of this. So here's the question from the beginning. What put you on the path to become a jazz and blues singer?
Well, my grandmother on my dad's side was a jazz singer, and her name was Sybil. Dermanolian, and she was actually my step grandmother. This is my stepfather's mother, but they raised me. Um, my real father went off to Vietnam, and I did not know him. So my mother married this wonderful fellow named Gary, and I was raised by this musical family of Armenians. They came from Armenia, and my grandmother had a sister who was a singer, and then they had five brothers. One played sax, one played drums, one played trombone, one played bass, and then Sybil sang and played piano. That was my grandmother. And so my earliest memories of, sitting in a high chair were listening to my family on Sunday afternoons play jazz together. And then my grandmother, of course, was a jazz or a music teacher at the local conservatory, and she did perform in my hometown, which is near Buffalo, New York, and around the Buffalo, New York area, in little nightclubs and restaurants as a supper club singer. That's what they called them back then. And she sounded a lot like Billie Holiday. So people nicknamed her the Armenian Billie Holiday. So I grew up listening to jazz, and it just sort of has always been under my skin.
Gotcha. So I'll say that I've met many people in the entertainment industry who have very diverse personalities, which can be very interesting to deal with, to say the least. When I first approached you, I was prepared to receive the diva treatment because a lot of times people who are in the business, whether they be entertainers, DJs, singers, whatever, sometimes there's a little diva action going on. When I talk to you,
Little?
you seem really down to earth. So I'm just wondering, what is it that is your secret to have that feel? Because I
Oh,
guess if anybody could be stuck up and like that, you could, because you've got some accolades to behind your name. Some people have none of that and they still act that way. So, what's your secret?
well, two things. First, I'm Irish. I told you my step family were Armenians, but they're my step family. My mother comes from an Irish, Polish background, and I, my other side of my family was very Irish. So the Irish people are pretty forthright, and I don't know too many Irish people who have big egos. They'll
Mm,
tell you what they think, but they don't have giant egos.
okay.
Um, and then I think more importantly, I was so lucky to learn in college with great musicians like Von Freeman and Willie Pickens and the swing violinist Johnny Frigo. And when I moved to New York City, I was so lucky to work with the great jazz trumpeter Doc Cheatham, who used to lead Cab Calloway's band. And all of these gentlemen were 80 and up when oh no, Vaughn was 72. All right, so they were 70 and up when I started. Well, no, I'm sorry, Willie was young. Willie was in his 50s. Vaughn was in his 70s. Johnny was in his 80s. And then Doc was 91 when I worked with him. And
Wow.
you get to a certain age, I guess, in the music business, and you are made. Like Doc ran the horn section for Cab Calloway, and Vonsky played for everybody, and he ran Chicago. And the thing that they all told me as a young musician and singer in my early 20s was be cool. That's what Vaughn told everybody. But he told me this every day. Be cool, Solitaire, be cool. Which means don't get excited, don't overreact to people, and just have it be about the music, you know? And the one thing that they all told me was that when you meet people in the music business who are high highfalutin, to use my grandmother's words, or have a big attitude. I mean, there's different types of attitudes, but the whole diva thing, I think the more talented you are and the more in tune you are with channeling the music, with bringing the energy of sound through time and space, into a recording or into a performance. The more you are listening on stage to everybody and what they're doing. Like I'd be on stage at the Jazz Showcase with Willie Pickens on piano, and we'd have Ari Brown on sax or Eric Schneider on sax, and Robert Shy on drums. God bless him. We lost Robert, and Marlene Rosenberg would be on the bass. And it was like I had to listen. to every little noise that they were making. And that all came through me. I had no time to have an attitude when I was too busy listening to the music. And I had to sing to keep up with these people. Performing with Willie Pickens or Von Freeman or Johnny Frigo was like a master class every time I got on stage with them. So I never had any occasion to become a fool of myself. And if I did, Vonsky was right there to say, be cool, Solitaire, be cool. Because they did not like that. And Johnny Frigo even went so far to say is, the people with the biggest egos are usually the worst players because they are so insecure that they have to cover it up somehow. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I don't mean to be cruel and I don't mean to be a diva by saying that. But when you are involved in the music and you're listening to what other people are doing and you are making music or creating it, you don't have time to think about yourself because it's not about you. It's about this thing that's outside of you that's created by you with other people. And it's like raising up a baby, you know? Do you know what I mean?
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you went deep into that, and I appreciate it so much. So you mentioned earlier one of my other questions were where were you from originally, and I think you said Buffalo, New York, right?
Well, I was born in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is about 70 miles from Buffalo, New York. And
Okay.
that Erie is on Lake Erie between Buffalo and Cleveland. So I grew up on the Great Lakes, and I studied there in high school. I studied classical singing. I was going to be an opera singer. And then when I moved to Chicago to complete my college education at DePaul University, um, I was able to you know, move from one Great Lake region to another Great Lake region. They're very similar. They have very similar um, values. The people have a farming base on the outside, and in the inside of the city, you have a lot of industrial base. And people in Chicago are very hard workers. People in my hometown are very hard workers. That whole Rust Belt um, developed around the late 1800s, and all of the towns are very similar. So I was pleased to find Chicago as sort of like a larger version of where I grew up. Although I did live in New York City for a while too.
Gotcha.
New York City
So
isn't like Chicago
okay.
or
So
Erie, Pennsylvania.
right.
It's
So the
different.
second part of
But
my question was, how do you like it there? You shared that already. And another question I like to ask people, just real quick, because we got a lot to cover, because you got a lot of good stuff in this interview. If money were no object, where could you live? Where would you live anywhere in the world?
that's a good question, and I am not sure. But I
Oh,
can tell you, I have lupus. I was born with it, and I would want to live in a warm climate that didn't have a lot of temperature changes. I think the
gotcha.
south of France would be nice.
Okay. All right. So here at Blue Silver Cafe, we like to get exclusives. So give the audience a fun fact that most people don't know. We want the exclusive. It doesn't have to be deep and personal, just something nobody knows that they would say, huh,
I love all kinds of music. And I started out as a classical singer, and I was in a punk rock band in my 20s. I did punk rock. I played the saxophone in a punk rock band that I don't think a lot of people knew. We called
okay.
ourselves Spider Farmers, and we were like a crossover between punk rock and goth, and we were awful. We played in college. It
Wow.
was an all chick goth band in like 1989. It was horrible.
Okay.
Nobody knows about it. Thank God we don't have any
Yeah.
video.
Well, now they do. Thank you for giving us that exclusive. Yes. Yes.
And then
So,
I went to jazz. I went to jazz after goth. It was great.
okay. All right. So here's an interesting question. What would you say is your value added proposition? And what that means is we interview people who are in music, entertainment, as well as business. And so, what would you say sets you apart as a singer from the rest of your competition? And I know because of your personality, you're probably going to say something like, I don't really think of it as competition or whatever. But let's say if somebody were to say, with you and your ethic or your method or the way that you do what you do, what would you say when you compare it to others make Solitaire different?
Well, I'm a professional artist, an illustrator. I've been working for publishing companies for like 20 years now. I have studied at the Art Institute of Chicago as well as studied music. I studied art. And I do earn a living illustrating book covers and advertisements and illustrating storybooks. Um, I work for big publishers like Time Life Books and Random House. I've illustrated covers for Harlequin Romance, and that's always been a good way to make a living, much more stable than being a musician. But what I really want to get at is when you paint a picture or when you make a composition, you're seeing like a whole, you're seeing a whole story. Okay, so like I I'm doing a cover for Harlequin of a pirate ravishing a maiden on the cover of a or on the top of a boat, right? You know, with the skull and the whatever they want. I do it, they pay me, right? But to me, it's still I have to put my heart and soul in it, and it's a composition. So when I look at recording a song, I love to record much more than I like to perform, and I love to produce more than I love to sing. So if I get into the studio with great musicians like Howard Levy, or when I work with Willie Pickens, or Eric Schneider, or my friends now that I work with in Paris, and I get tracks, and we're all trying to come up with an arrangement of a song like "Too Close for Comfort." I wrote a very interesting intro for my version of it, which isn't on the original that I wrote. It was all my own composition. The little part with just me and the drums in the beginning. Be wise, be smart, be fair, my heart.
Mhm.
Yeah, that the original writers didn't write that. I came up with that on my own. I strive to come up with unique arrangements of songs, whether they're originals or not, and to use the musicians that I have, like colors, oil paintings, like when I'm painting, and I make the composition of a song. And I'm not trying to denigrate anybody and say like, Howard Levy and Eric Schneider are just like colors of paint to me. They're certainly not. They paint their own portraits. You never tell people like that what to do on a solo, believe me, because they know what they want to play. Well, that's a big part of producing. But I enjoy the production of a song as much as I enjoy the production of a cheesy Harlequin romance novel cover. It is a unique thing that I can create and stand back and look and say, okay, I wanted the clouds over here. Oh, I wanted the maiden to be on the left and to have a green dress, and I want the pirate to have red hair, you know? And when I'm in the studio, I can say, okay, well, I want the saxophone to overlap the horn solo, and then I want the horn to come in after the guitar is done, but I want some guitar licks happening while the harmonica is still playing. It's coloring with music instead of coloring with a paintbrush. And
Got you.
song is a composition. I don't know how many singers think like that. I've always been in awe of Patricia Barber, Chicago's Patricia Barber, because she writes and she arranges, and her recordings are brilliant. So are her performances because they're well thought out and planned. You know, and
Got you.
I've not always been able to bring that off on stage because I'm not the astute musician that Patricia Barber is. But I try. I try to make every song into like a story or like a painting. It has a concept and you look at it and it has balance and concept. Do you understand? And maybe not all singers do
You
that.
know what? I think we
I see
can
some great
understand if
singers.
you demonstrate that for us. Because you got a song that you're going to sing for us this evening, correct?
Yes, yes, and it was well thought out song. It was the
All
original
right.
by a friend of mine in Los Angeles.
Okay. Well, let's do it.
Okay.
Solitaire Miles live here on Blue Silver Cafe. Let's do
Now
that.
I will do my best. I was recently stung by a yellow jacket. I don't know if I told you.
Okay.
And I had steroids, so my voice is but this song is called Blue Train, and it was written by Mel Harker, who's a wonderful songwriter from Los Angeles. And it's a blues, But my band, which features Neil Alger on guitar, Howard Levy on harmonica, Phil Grotto on drums, and Chris Bernhardt on bass, they do a killer job. And actually, this is one of those few things that I didn't even really have to arrange much. And it was the title of our last album. Can you hear me okay? Cold steel rails, old wooden ties, black as cold smoke against some cloudy skies. Blue train took my baby away. Down to the depot, I even helped you pack. You said, don't worry, honey, I'll soon be coming back. Blue train took my baby away. I don't think I can make it. My poor heart just can't take it like it used to do. So, Blue Train, won't you save it? It only breaks my heart every time. Sorry, man. Climb through the Cap Mountains, roll over on the flats. The brakeman waves his lantern, swinging one leg off the back. Blue train took my baby away. Howard Levy. Neil Alger. I don't think I can take it. My poor heart just can't make it like it used to do. So, Blue Train, won't you save it? It only breaks my heart in two every time. Climb through the mountains, hold her open on the flats. The brakeman waves his lantern, swinging one leg off the back. Blue train took my baby away. Blue train took my baby away. Honey, you left on that blue train, and now I'm all alone. I hear that old whistle whining. Ooh, baby, come on home. Come on home.
All right.
And I haven't sung that one. Sorry, I loved a couple of the lyrics. It's been a while.
That's
I've
all
been
right.
doing all these like smooth jazz songs lately. I haven't been able to rock out, but
No
that was
problem.
just that was just a simple blues song, and look at what they did with that. They made
I
a great
got you.
masterpiece out of it, right?
So we're in the speed round, and for sake of time, because I know that you are super busy, these next questions that I have are going to be, let's say, 30 seconds or less, because we got a lot that we want the audience to know about. So, and I also want to tell you to, I appreciate you sharing your art with our audience. We appreciate that so much, and you know, A lot of people wouldn't do that. They'd say, "Nah, I'm not going to sing." So we appreciate it. So, what artists would you say are your strongest musical influences?
Well, Billie Holiday. I have an altar set up to Billie Holiday. Not kidding.
Gotcha.
I have. I'm a Catholic, but I have the Virgin Mary statue upon my dresser, and then I have a votive candle for Billie Holiday. So she's right up there with the Blessed Mother for me.
Okay.
Irish. And I'd say also Duke Ellington. I heard a lot of Duke growing up. Early Duke, not the later Duke, although I love all Duke. And gosh, Earl Garner is a great
Okay.
piano player. My grandmother played piano, and she always wanted to sound like Earl Garner. Maria
Got
Muldaur was one of the first pop jazz crossovers I heard in the 70s. And I love Maria Muldaur. She does everything.
yeah. Are there any new artists that you're following?
Yeah, there are quite a few. Oh, I can't think of all of their names offhand. Um,
That's okay. Just one. One is good.
Tammy Nielsen, she's
Ah,
from New Zealand, and she does it all. She does country, she does rock. Hopefully, she'll start to do some jazz. She kills the blues. She just did a record with Willie Nelson. She's one of my idols.
okay. So I'm sure that you've heard a ton of music in your career. When you listen to a song, how do you determine if it's good or not?
The chord changes in the arrangement,
Mm, okay. I
and
like that.
you listen for something that's interesting. Of course, if you always have a standout musician or a standout singer, that makes a difference. You know, um, a lot of Joan Jett's tunes aren't very complicated, but she could really sing a tune, right?
Okay. Okay. So based upon your firsthand experience or from stories that you've heard or gut feeling that you have, what artist or group has the best work ethic?
Well, there's a lot of groups that have good work ethic. I think most famously and most recently featured were the Beatles,
Mm,
because they quit touring and then they were studio monkeys. They were studio slaves, writing every day and putting out all those songs. Um, and
yeah, Ringo and Paul got a song that they're putting out now and they're promoting. I think it's old, but they're bringing it out and gonna start promoting. I don't know if you heard about that.
I heard it already. It's great. It's on my Facebook page. It's beautiful.
Mm,
It's a song that John had written in '77, and they had a vocal clip from it, and they built on it, and it was amazing.
nice.
Those guys worked pretty hard.
Okay. So,
That's a
what
work.
advice, based upon your experience, would you give to the new generation of musicians?
Well, it's a different game now. When I started 25 years ago, you could get paid, and you could sell records, and people bought them, or they bought your CDs, or they bought your tapes. My first demo was on a tape, a cassette, in 1992. So, it's hard to make money as a musician. And even back in the 90s when I was a student and people were making a lot of money, I still kept a day job. I've always had a day job. I've never relied on music to pay my bills. Because the type of music I like is not straight ahead pop. And even then, those people are struggling because of all the streaming services and the fact that no one buys an MP3, but they'll stream you on Amazon or Spotify. You only get 0.001 cent per play. You know,
Hmm.
so don't go into music thinking you're going to get rich. If you're going to go into music, do it because you love creating music, and do it for that reason only because it's who you are and it's in your soul. And try to pay your rent some other way.
Gotcha. So,
Sa-
speaking of that, what is the best way for our audience to show you the most support? Like, what is it that, since you mentioned that, there's not a lot of money in the music, should people spread the word of mouth with this video, social media? Do you have a
Yeah.
mailing list or, you got some tickets to your events that are coming up? What would be the best thing for you?
Well, we don't have any events coming up right now because we're in the
Okay.
process of recording a new album. But
Okay.
we did release Blue Train, and that's available. for purchase on my website, susiebluelonesomefellas.com. I
Okay.
also have a awesome Bandcamp page with singles and albums for purchase. And Bandcamp is one of the last outlets out there that pays artists for their music. So if you were going to buy anything from us, please go to Susie Blue Lonesome Fellas at bandcamp.com.
Nice.
Don't go to Susie Blue because there's another woman named Susie Blue. Susie Blue Lonesome Fellas at bandcamp.com. And I'm always posting new things up there. Or you can go to our YouTube channel, which is under Solitaire Miles and Susie Blue and the Lonesome Fellas. I'm constantly making music videos when I'm not performing because I love to make videos. To me, it's just an extension of being an artist. Um, and the more you watch my videos, the more I get paid from YouTube. Facebook isn't paying us for videos. But that's how I get the word out right now. And of course, Bandcamp being our most important resource at this time, other than our website, susiebluelonesomefellas.com. Support musicians, folks, and buy from their websites or buy from their Bandcamp pages because nobody else pays us more than like a cent per sale. iTunes sells your songs, and you used to be able to get 70 cents on the song 20 years ago, but now you're lucky to get 5 cents. You know,
Gotcha.
they keep the other 95 for a song. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. I
Okay.
create music now because I have a day job that pays my mortgage, and my music is my art, and I put it out there whether the music ever makes me rich or not. It's very
Okay.
freeing once you do that because then you can create what you want and not what somebody tells you you have to create. Don't ever create what people tell you you have to create because then you're not creating, you're just regurgitating.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Solitaire. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time here with the Blue Silver Cafe audience. And we want to let you all know to contact us, join the Blue Silver Cafe VIP list at bluesilvercafe.com. You can connect with us at Blue Silver Cafe on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, as well as create an account and follow us at mixcloud.com. Join us for Blue Silver Cafe Presents Volume 121 next Monday, November 13th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time, where we'll dig deep in the crates to play the best music of your life and provide homework for your favorite DJ. And with that, I'm Randall Phillips, and we'll see you next time on Blue Silver Cafe Presents. Good night. Thank you for joining us, Solitaire.
Thank you.